So, why gestures suck in HTML5? Or why not so much anymore? Okay, so first of all, what is a gesture? It's like everyone knows about it. You just like can do something. Not exactly what we do. In our case, it looks more like this. So, yeah, fingers on a screen. It can also be not on a screen, but I'm just going to talk about touch stuff. So, fingers on the screen, and the browser basically is like, what? I don't understand. Like, you have to tell me what that is actually. Like, you might think there's stuff like tabs and swipes and all that readily available for you, but it's not actually. So we just get like very low-level APIs. So I'll have to tell you just a little bit about that and basically cite the spec here, which is kind of boring, but you need to know a bit about it. So what you have actually are obviously touches, so just a touch point, touch lists, which are just many touches, and touch events that are fired when touches happen. So it's not too hard. Like touch points, you get an identifier, which we'll get to later why that is important and on what target that was fired in the DOM. And yeah, the coordinates in 3 different versions, which is always confusing, but maybe you'll need that. So when are those triggered? Like those are just the things we have. So we just have touch start, touch move, touch end, and touch cancel. They also had ideas about touch enter and touch leave in earlier versions, but those were discarded again, so it's not standard if they are somewhere. So yeah, obviously touch start, finger touches the screen, it's a touch start event that gets fired, and that touch we had earlier is in that event. But not only one, but many, so we'll have those touch lists. So if you put one finger on the screen, you get a touch start event, and you put another one on the screen. And each time you get 3 different lists of touches. Touches is all touches on the screen all the time. And then you have target touches. It's just on the element you're listening on. So if you touch somewhere up there, but the element is down there, like that touch, not target touch. And then you have change touches. So if you have 2 fingers on the screen, put a 3rd one on there, that will be in the change touches list. So I'll just show you a very small prototype, or you try it out yourself. It's even better. Like if you go to that domain, it should like work on most modern phones. I didn't really check for super high compatibility. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. I used like VH and vmin stuff, which is just modern CSS, which won't work on older phones. But I'll just show you what it does. Wait a second, and I'll just FaceTime myself. Hello. So, okay, it's a super simple app that just follows your fingers and leaves traces on the screen. So, but it's multi-touch, as you can see. So, and I'll just show you the code for that, because it's pretty straightforward what you have to do. So this is like I don't use any library for this. Didn't use any library for this, and there's just some more fancier stuff in there, but not really. Is this readable or okay? So basically, you just do an add event listener and do a touch start, listen for touch starts, and then some JavaScript stuff. You like just need to understand if you want to do multi-touch. Otherwise, you just take the first touch, whatever. But it's a self-invoking function. Immediately invoking, blah blah blah. It's iffy stuff. Okay, actually, you should know about this if you do some JavaScript, but I do that for 10 years now, and I like still made this mistake when I wrote the code and was wondering like, why is only one touch showing? Yeah, because the for loop doesn't have its own function scope, like its own. Yes, just accept that it's there. So I just loop through all the touches that are there on touch start and just add a DOM element, which I styled as a dot. And it appears on the screen once I append it there. But one thing you should do, every touch comes with an identifier, which gets important if you want to move those dots or remove them again and want to identify which touch belongs to what thing. So each time you start touching the screen, that touch doesn't only have coordinates, but also a unique identifier, which you can save somewhere. And then when you do it, detect a change touch on your touch move event, you can just take your object where you wrote the, like I do here, I just pull the move dot out of my object. I declare the very good styling code, global object up here, which holds all the references to the dots, because the touch identifier, actually it's like funny, they just give you 0, 1, 2, those are the identifiers. And yeah, if you use that to then move around those dots, you're set. And then if the touch end appears, you just remove it again. So that's like that super small program. And it's really just a few lines of code. It has like some catches once you start doing it in real world scenarios. But we'll talk about that a little more. So how do I get back to full screen now? I'll just do it like this. It's fine. Okay, so so what you actually have to do so if you want to identify a gesture, you just have those low-level APIs. So you actually just have a touch start, touch move, touch end, and like some data when that happened. So if you want to, like one example how you could see what a tap event is, you would see, okay, there's a finger on the screen. I wait for 250 milliseconds, and if I take the finger off again and didn't move more than 10 pixels, then I could say, yeah, it's a tap. Okay, why like a double tap? Okay, I will obviously have to wait for a tap first, and then wait for another one, 300 milliseconds inside of the other tap, and shouldn't be too far away. So this would identify a double tap, but it obviously also has a drawback. If you want to exclusively do a double tap, then and you just throw this on your app, then all your taps have to wait, because you always wait. Wait, is it maybe a double tap? So I have to wait 300 milliseconds, and okay. So you get that delay. And you have that with many gestures, actually. So you could now go and do like, okay, I'll just figure out how all those gestures work. Or you could just stuff like Hammer.js, which has been around for some time and is now in version 2 and has improved a lot. And they have all those gestures you could use, and some more. And they have some cool stuff in there. So they have like recognizers that you can combine, or you can say, I want a tap, or I want a double tap, and you can just construct quadruple taps with their API, and then say, okay, I want a quadruple tap, and then I want a double tap, but that has to wait if there's a quadruple tap coming, and you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's actually like, it's pretty easily usable. So like another super small demo, like with a very sucky graphics. It's just like a super small list you can scroll, where I put in without any work basically, put in some of those recognizers, and it's pretty easy to do some stuff that you know from some native apps, or that has been there for some time. And you can tweak those things. Like I didn't tweak them at all. I just used it. Okay, so this you can't see anything here if I do it like this. So if you do, yeah. So basically, what it does is like if you do a tab, which is hard to do obviously like this. So if you do a tab, it just gets an alert that there was a tab, but you can also do stuff like a swipe. So I built this little swipe, and if you swipe it, then the delete thing appears, and if you swipe back, it goes back again. And just with that swipe left and swipe right gestures, I'll quickly show you some code here. So this is just the list I did for that. And I just put like three IDs on there, and then just this is a tab event, for example, or the swipe. So what you can do is like build those. You could have multiple instances, like I did here, of the recognizers. So you could do like have two people doing stuff, and both gestures could be recognized by the phone. So if you do like in one half of the screen something, and in the other half, and just recognize the gestures there, you could do that with that. But it's like this easy to just throw some gestures on there. Like obviously that has some drawbacks. For example, the swipe stuff. It's if you swipe left and right, you can't scroll left and right anymore, or like very nice always the swipe up, swipe down stuff, and then someone tells you like, oh, swipe up, swipe down, great, do that, and then they place this area that you're supposed to swipe up or down on the bottom of the screen or on the top of the screen, and you're always like, yeah, you know about Android or iOS and their native thing. That always sucks. But what sucks even more is if you think like, I can use those nice gesture libraries, and then they're like, yeah, and now make it that it sticks to the finger. So if you want to draw something from up there and you have that gesture, it's pretty easy. You just throw hammer on there and do like a swipe down. It comes down. Just a CSS class with an animation, yeah, hooray. But then they're like, yeah, okay, now make it stick to the finger. Once you move the finger, it like should move with the finger. Then you actually have to go back and do those low-level events. And there's been some. You could also do another way, which I will get back to. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Actually, you break stuff in the browser, and you have to think about if you want that. Like no more scrolling, I said that, and the pinch gesture or the double tap actually is for like those nice resizing text things. And if you do a long tap or a hold thing, don't overuse it, because it's no big deal if you start doing it and are not able to copy and paste text anymore until you need to copy and paste text, and every user is going to hate you because it's just it's the worst. So like there's another nice thing that's everyone wants you to disable, and you don't have to do that anymore with the modern browsers, and I'll show you how. But there's that dreaded 300 millisecond delay. That's not only if you yourself want to do a double click, but the double tap to zoom. We just said, okay, that's to zoom, and so the browser, if you have clickable things like links on your in your site or on your app, the browser will wait 300 milliseconds to see if there's that double tap. So you want to zoom in maybe, but yeah, so it does that, like waits for a touch start, touch, and then waits 300 milliseconds, and then triggers the click event. And you don't think that's long, but it's very, very noticeable when you compare it to other apps. And don't get the idea like, oh, touch start is immediately. That's also not a good idea. Like then you have to go back and do a tap gesture, or use something like fast click, which is around like a library that just eliminates this delay. But then again, think of it like double tap. Maybe you want your users to zoom in, like it's an accessibility issue as well. So always think about that. But in modern versions of Firefox and Chrome, at least, if you make your whole site non-scalable anyway with that small meta tag here, they also remove that 300 millisecond delay by default. So you don't really have to think about that anymore. So if we look, okay, how are they supported? Touch events, obviously, like the desktop browsers are not very interested in touch events, except for IE, which we'll get to later. And Chrome has them, but yeah, Safari doesn't. But all the mobile browsers with the standard touch stuff, you're super safe. Can use it. Except on IE, and IE, like Microsoft, it's a little drama. They have that very nice thought out pointer events API. So the idea is to basically just get rid of what is your input source. We don't need to know. We just need to know what gets triggered by that, right? So, and if you can do special stuff like with a pen, like maybe we want to know. So they were like, yeah, cool, we have that cool thing. We'll just use no matter what input source and then trigger some pointer events. And if you have the pen, like we'll give you the degrees in which you used it. And it's going to be great. Everyone was like, we love it, except Apple. They were like, no. But everyone else was, sure, we'll also do that. And then this little mail went over the mailing list. And Chrome was like, yeah, no, fuck it. We won't use that. Like, no pointer events for you. It's like they just said, okay, we'll have some good reasons, which I will recite here, basically. So they were like, touch events are not going to vanish. Like, everyone uses them by now. And we don't want another API that does the same plus a little bit. And like have a lot of complexity and like edits to the web. Also, they said it's about performance as well. Yeah, I mean the pointer events API has stuff like pointer enter, and they modeled it to be like mouse events, but have all those mouse enter, mouse leave stuff basically in pointer speak. And one of the drawbacks with that is they also thought about it like, if you have a mouse, you can scroll and at the same time click, which you can't do with your finger. It's like, doesn't work. So if you scroll on mobile, that's also like one of the main reasons why drag and drop doesn't work on mobile, because you can't do like, doesn't really work. So, scrolling. Scrolling is one of the things that, I'll just leave it with that. Like pointer API, it works on IE and mobile IE, but nowhere else, basically. Which is, so if you have to do something for Windows, then use it, like by all means. But other than that, don't really think about it. So that went into a standard recommendation, but no one does it except Microsoft, so it's kind of sad. But one other thing happened. Finally, we can use scroll events. Yeah. What was the problem with scroll events again? Okay, so on the desktop for years, we had like our little mouse wheel and could scroll down, and the browser fires all those events. Like, I scroll. And you could then like always look, do I need to animate something or load more content when I hit the bottom? And yeah, there were some problems with it as well. Like there's that great, like 2011 Twitter used that scrolling thing to actually, like every time it was fired, they did some AJAX requests to pull in more data, and it got horribly slow at some point with their site. And John Resig had a very good article, like why that's problematic, and he was like, never like directly put anything on the scroll event. That's also what Apple thought when they did the iPhone. Then they were doing scrolling in the browser. They were like, scroll events. Like, we'll just fire scroll end when they are done, and otherwise we'll just use a picture and scroll that up and down, and that's going to be great, like performance-wise. But we didn't have any scroll events, and also like no painting happening during the scrolls until iOS 7. Actually, like it wasn't possible unless you did that hard road and did touch events. Then you could like see what happens in the touch move, and then you just had to replicate the native scrolling thing, which is like, sure, I'll just throw some transitions on there and do it. And I actually did it once, and it's like, why is this scrolling so weird? Like you can kind of get there, but it's not really great. But there was an issue with scrolling, and times change fast, and it was a very good reason to include this tweet. This happened some time ago, so I don't mean to diss him by any means, but I thought it was very funny when someone added John Resig to the old guard Twitter list while him being 28. Today, like scrolling events, we want that for stuff that, or for nice things, or clients want that for nice things, or for like stuff like collapsing headers when you scroll down or up, or so while scrolling, you want to animate things and have dynamic transitions, or that pull to refresh thing we saw earlier. You could very nicely do that with just scrolling events and then hitting the bottom or the top. Now iOS 8, like Chrome did it a while ago. They were firing throttled scroll events. And now iOS 8, you see those two things here. So this is iOS 7, and doing like only, you see here the scroll events are counted just when you stop. And here, like every time loads of events are fired. So hooray, we can now use those. So pointer events Act 2. There's a different pointer events, which is CSS pointer events. Sometimes those are usable when you do this stuff, because you can just take an element, slap it on top of another element, and then say pointer events none, and just click through it or tap through it. It's like pretty neat. And it's not like the other pointer events, which are like a standard recommendation and no one uses it. This is unofficial and everyone uses it and supports it. It comes from SVG, but it's like you can use it on HTML elements, and like you see here, right? Like, it's kind of funny. And we're still not done with the pointer events API. Like so much in there. Now there's the touch action CSS property, which comes from Microsoft's pointer events API. But some people just pulled it out there and support it in their browsers, like not everyone, but in Chrome, and some more browsers do it. I think I have a slide in there. There you can programmatically in CSS set if your elements should actually accept that pinch or double tap to zoom gesture, and you can say in which direction the div or whatever it is can scroll. So you can set that in CSS, which is pretty neat, and can make the 300 millisecond delay go away and do those swipe things without going insane. It's pretty easy, like just like this. No zoom class, for example, just put a touch action none, and all the touch actions, like not all of them, but those are gone. Actually, like I showed you Hammer before, they also use it when it's available and disable the stuff they don't want. Yeah, there you see it's like not perfect. Obviously, IE supports it, like because it's in the pointer events API. It's not it's not its own. Like the pointer events API, people were asked like, can we have that and do our own little spec? And they were like, no, pointer events doesn't make sense without it. Like we need it. It stays in here, and so it's like also kind of unofficial. But support is getting there. So at some point in the future, it also is usable. Or now, if you don't have to support so many browsers. Yeah, and there I'm already done. Unless you have questions.
Do you know if the touch events still get fired when you have pointer events not?
I'm pretty sure they don't get fired. So if you do pointer events none, it just behaves like the diff like in between is not there. Yeah. Any questions? Okay, cool. So thank you.